Okay, let's get straight into it. UPS has just announced some really significant changes.
Yeah, big news. They're planning major job cuts for 2025.
Right, something like 20,000 jobs. That's quite a chunk.
It is about 8% of their global workforce. And it's not just jobs.
No, what else?
They're also closing buildings, 73 of them, leased and owned.
73. Wow. By when?
By the end of June 2025, they're actually calling it their largest network reconfiguration in history.
That's massive. What's behind such a drastic move?
Well, the main driver seems to be a really big shift in how they work with Amazon.
Amazon, but aren't they UPS's biggest customer?
They are, yes. Or, well, they were in terms of volume. But UPS is planning to cut the number of Amazon packages they handle quite significantly.
Significantly?
By more than half, over 50% by the second half of 2026.
Hold on. Intentionally cutting business with your largest client. That sounds counterintuitive. Why would they do that?
Yeah, it really comes down to profit.
Yeah.
Amazon accounted for nearly 12% of UPS's revenue in 2024. That sounds great, right?
Sounds essential.
But according to the CEO, Carol Tomé, the profit margin on those deliveries was, her words, very dilutive to their U.S. domestic business.
Dilutive, meaning it dragged down their overall profitability.
Exactly. So it seems they're choosing to focus on revenue that actually makes them more money rather than just chasing volume.
So less is more in this case. Less Amazon volume equals potentially better earnings overall.
That appears to be the strategy, yes.
Yes.
Specifically targeting those outbound shipments from Amazon's own fulfillment centers. Those seem to be the ones UPS sees as less profitable for their specific network setup.
Have they already started doing this?
They have. We saw Amazon volume drop by 16% just in the first quarter of this year, and they expect that trend to keep going.
Okay, so these job cuts, the building closures, it must all be linked to saving money then.
Absolutely. UPS is projecting savings of around $3.5 billion in 2025 from these consolidation efforts alone.
$3.5 billion, that's substantial.
It is. And they've already seen some of it. About $500 million in savings were realized just in Q1.
Right, you mentioned Q1. How did they do overall financially in that first quarter, given this big shift starting?
Pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
Better than expected. They reported revenue of $21.5 billion.
Which beat forecasts.
Yes, it surpassed analysts' expectations. And their adjusted earnings per share did too, came in at $1.49.
So despite pulling back from Amazon, other parts of the business must be holding up or even growing.
It suggests some underlying strength elsewhere, yeah. Or maybe the cost savings are kicking in effectively already.
It does make you wonder, though. What does Amazon think about all this? Were they, planning to leave UPS anyway?
Not according to Amazon, no. They've said they still have a strong working relationship with UPS.
Okay.
And they even suggested they were actually ready to give UPS more volume. Amazon's public stance is basically, we respect UPS's decision about their own operations, and we'll keep working with them and other carriers too.
So it's not like a messy breakup. It sounds more like UPS made a very deliberate strategic choice here.
I think that's the right way to look at it. It's a strategic realignment. And you have to see it in the wider context too.
What context is that?
Well, the whole logistics industry is changing, right?
Yeah.
E-commerce growth isn't as explosive as it was a couple of years ago. It's maturing.
Okay, settling down a bit.
Yeah. Plus, there's this huge push toward automation, better route optimization that naturally changes labor needs. And then there are just the broader economic factors, maybe slower consumer spending affecting overall shipping volumes.
So UPS isn't just reacting to Amazon. This is part of a bigger picture response.
Exactly. They're pouring a lot of money into technology. I think electric vehicles, robotics and warehouses, AI tools.
Right. Modernizing.
Definitely. They're using their big automated hubs more and more, apparently. Those handle most of their volume already. So this isn't just about cutting costs tied to Amazon. It's a wider efficiency and tech drive.
So if they're moving away from some of the Amazon volume, what's the long-term plan? What are they moving towards?
It looks like broad cost reduction, for one, but also really diversifying who they serve, moving beyond just standard e-commerce.
Like what kind of areas?
Things like healthcare logistics, that's a big one. Handling pharmaceuticals, medical equipment, that sort of thing.
Specialized, potentially higher margin?
Potentially, yes. And also partnering more with retailers for maybe the last mile delivery part of things. Essentially, by relying less on Amazon's lower profit business, they can focus resources on areas they see as more lucrative, like international freight or B2B shipping.
Now, you mentioned 20,000 jobs. The Teamsters Union represents a lot of UPS workers. They must have something to say about this.
Oh, they do. Their general president has been quite clear. He's pointed out that UPS is actually obligated under their current contract to create 30,000 Teamsters jobs.
Create jobs, not cut them.
Right. So while the union might not fight every single management decision on downsizing, they've said they will fight anything they see as violating the contract contract or hurting their members' jobs unfairly. It's definitely something to watch.
Okay. And what about wider global stuff? Anything internationally affecting this?
Yeah, there's always global trade, isn't there? Shifts in policy, like new tariffs, could potentially hurt their international business.
Especially with China.
Particularly the China-US lanes, yeah. That's a significant chunk of their international revenue. UPS is actively keeping customers updated on tariff developments, so they're clearly aware of the risks there.
Before we wrap up, how did the stock market react to all this news? Investors must have had opinions.
They did. Initially, UPS stock took a hit after the job cut news came out.
Understandable.
But it has recovered some ground since then, and actually after the recent earnings report, which was better than expected, the stock saw a bit of a bump.
So maybe some cautious optimism from investors about this new strategy.
It suggests that, perhaps. Though, it's worth noting, UPS actually pulled their full-year financial guidance, citing, the current economic uncertainty. So it's not all smooth sailing.
Okay, so just to quickly recap then, UPS is making this really significant strategic pivot. They're intentionally cutting back quite drastically on Amazon volume because while it was huge, it wasn't profitable enough.
Right, squeezing margins.
Leading to major job losses, 20,000, and closing 73 facilities as part of this big network overhaul. But despite that, their Q1 results actually beat expectations.
Which is interesting, yeah.
And their future path seems to be focused on cutting costs, getting more efficient through tech, and diversifying into potentially more profitable areas like healthcare, while also keeping an eye on union relations and global trade headwinds.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a complex picture, showing a major logistics player making some tough choices in a changing landscape.
Absolutely. It gives you a lot to think about regarding the future of e-commerce logistics and, well, how these giant companies adapt.
It certainly does.
All right. Thanks for breaking all that down for us. And hey, if you found this discussion helpful, please do take a second to like this and subscribe for more updates.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.